identify with. But now we find some people who don't like Herzl, who think Herzl is a well, Johnny-come-lately, shall we say? By the way, if you're interested in labor Zionism, the Zionism of the kibbutz that I'll probably take a look at some point, their big intellectual guru, if you want to call him that, is Aaron David Gordon, 1856 to 1922. You'll find him on page 370 something or other. We might have a look at him if we have time, but I call him to your attention. The man who is really the anti-Herzlian and the person who leads the struggle, if you like, intellectually against someone like Herzl and political Zionism. There's nothing wrong with him, is Ahad Ha'am. I don't know if I can find what page Ahad Ha'am is on. Oh, you got my thing here? Good, good. Thanks very much. I don't know what page what page is Ahad Ha'am? Can you find it? 248. There's a lot of material from Ahad Ha'am here. I don't know if we have time to look at it all. I want to do Weitzman and Ahad Ha'am today if I can, because they're the same mindset. Maybe we can bleed over in the next period with Weitzman and Jabotinsky. We'll end up with Jabotinsky and some of his like-minded people. 1856 to 1927. So, you know, he has a much longer lifespan than Herzl has. When was Herzl born? I think he's probably, Nordau is, by the way, if you go to Tel Aviv, to modern Tel Aviv, you'll see all, Nordau's a little older than Ahad Ha'am by about 5 years, but, and dies about 5 years earlier, but Herzl, I think he's got him arranged here more or less by date of birth, but not with Herzl. Herzl's 1860. So he's 4 years younger than Ahad Ha'am, and he dies about 25 years before him. So, you know, the tragedy for Herzl is from Hungary. Herzl is one of these people who was like the family that you saw. So, Freud's people came from Hungary too and moved down to Vienna. Remember the guy with the legal background goes to Vienna? Yeah. What's up? You got a question? No?
Sorry, I was scratching my head.
No, okay. In the movie, one of the early brother, you know, the early brother who loves the cousin, goes to Vienna, and she visits him in the hotel room in Vienna. I lived in Vienna a little bit when I was your age. When I was on the road back in the late 50s, and as I think I told you, you could get in those days a room for 60 cents a night and a Wiener Schnitzel for about $1. You know, Europe on $5 a day wasn't even the thing. It was Europe like around $2.50 a day. That's what it was like. And, you know, but there was no one on the road much in those places when I was down there. I didn't even know it, but I was doing some writing, and some people sent me to this village up in the mountains. And I had never even heard of Herzl at that time, even though I'd been to college and went to an Ivy League school, supposedly was well educated. I didn't know anything. This place, the village I went to for a couple of months in the autumn, in the outside of Salzburg in the mountains, was called Altassee. And I later found out that's where Herzl used to do his writing. I didn't have any idea, you know, I never knew it at that time. And it's really interesting to me to know that now. But I had no idea at that time when I was a young, you know, 21, 22 years old, 21 or so, that was any significant place whatsoever in anyone's life or biography or anything like that. It was a lovely little place, I must say. There's a little place down near the river was called Badassee, where people used to go. Bad means bath, which is where people used to go to take the baths, but this was further up in the mountains. Alt means higher up. Alta, say, it was a little village. I can still picture it because it had apple trees and apples on the ground and grass and, you know, totally alpine sort of setting, absolutely lovely little place. But they all went to Vienna, and I went to Vienna, and some of the scenes in that movie, I know, I could see, looked like places, I don't know if they were filmed in Vienna, but they looked like places I knew from Vienna. One of the cafe scenes that they show him in the first sequence meeting his cousin in and talking about changing their name or whatever, that looked just like one of the famous cafes in Vienna people used to go to and sit around, intellectual cafes. In those cafes, they would always have newspapers. You have a newspaper on a wooden sort of reader staff, and you could sit in those cafes all morning long and read the newspaper, do whatever you wanted. That's the way Vienna used to be. It was called gemütlich, cozy. But of course now the prices have skyrocketed about 100 times what I used to, what I used to know back in the good old 50s and 60s, before the Vietnam War and the oil crisis produced the world that you know. And I think those are the two big events that produced the world that you know. Anyway, they all went down there, and Herzl was one of these people, so he's Hungarian, and as we saw, I think we mentioned earlier, his son committed suicide, and his or was it the daughter? Anyway, they had a son and daughter. One committed suicide, and the other died shortly thereafter, and they had just brought their bodies to Israel recently. I don't know what happened to his wife, but most of their people in their family were killed. Freud got away to England right before the beginning of the war. Another one who's originally his background came from Hungary. They were in Vienna, went to the University of Vienna, and so on, practiced medicine in Vienna. So a lot of these people were in that world. Of course, this is the movie was people stayed in Budapest in Hungary, but that world was all part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So as you see, if Herzl hadn't died so young, you know, for the strenuous work that he did, I think Zionism could have achieved its goals more clearly in an earlier period. That's just my suspicion, but you can't prove those things. That's what would have happened if Lincoln hadn't been assassinated or something like that. I mean, I don't consider the Kennedy person a very significant person. I feel sorry for anyone who's shot down like a dog, obviously. No one would like that. I know that